It was a Sunday evening, the kind of night meant for comfort. The smell of roasted chicken filled the kitchen, candles flickered on the table, and my daughter, Anna, sat across from me with that sweet smile I'd always trusted. "Mom," she said gently, sliding a stack of papers toward me. "It's just some routine stuff, helping me set up for school loans and taxes. You know I'm hopeless with forms." I looked down. The papers were thick, covered with fine print, numbers, and legal language that blurred under the dim light. My reading glasses rested upstairs in the bedroom, and my hands already ached from the long day. "You don't need me for this," I murmured, pushing the stack back slightly. She leaned in, her eyes soft but insistent. "Please? It's just a signature. Nothing complicated. It would really help me." Her tone disarmed me. She'd always been my little girl, the one I worked overtime shifts for, the one I fought to send to college. I sighed, picked up the pen, and signed where she pointed. She guided my hand with such precision, flipping page after page. Hours later, long after she had gone home, I sat by the window with a cup of tea. The night was quiet, almost too still. Something nagged at me, the way she had rushed me, how quickly she'd gathered the signed papers and tucked them away. By morning, the world shifted. I logged into my bank account out of habit, my fingers moving sluggishly on the keyboard. The numbers glared back at me. My life savings, everything I had worked for, every penny I had set aside for my future, was gone, just like that. I stared at the screen, my vision blurring as though the numbers were lying to me. Zeros where there should have been tens of thousands. My breath caught, shallow and quick. My hands trembled so hard I nearly dropped the mouse. I tried again, refreshing the page, hoping it was some kind of glitch, but the balance didn't change. My savings, the money I had worked 30 years to build, was gone. Panic clawed its way up my throat. I grabbed the phone and dialed the bank. A woman's calm voice answered, too calm for the storm in my chest. "Yes, Mrs. Turner. The withdrawal was processed last night. It was authorized with your signature." "My signature?" My voice cracked. "I didn't authorize anything." There was a pause. Then the woman said, "The paperwork we received was fully signed. The funds were transferred to an account under Anna Turner." My stomach twisted. Anna, my daughter. When I hung up, I sat frozen in my chair, the silence around me deafening. My mind replayed the dinner, the papers, her soft voice, her pleading eyes. I had signed my future away, and she had made me do it with my own hand. The betrayal was a knife twisting inside me. This wasn't some stranger scamming me. This was my child. I wanted to believe there was an explanation, a reason, something I was missing. But deep down, in the pit of my stomach, I knew she had planned this. And now she was living off the pieces of my life. I called Anna the next morning. My voice was steadier than I felt. "Come over, we need to talk." She arrived with that same bright smile, carrying a coffee like nothing was wrong. "What's up, Mom?" she asked, sitting at the kitchen table as if she owned the place. I slid my laptop toward her, the empty balance glaring from the screen. "Explain this." Her smile faltered just for a second before she composed herself. "Oh, that. Yeah, I moved the money. Don't worry, it's safe." "Safe?" My voice cracked, sharp. "Anna, that was my life savings. You had no right." She leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms. "I did have the right. You signed everything. Legally, it's mine to manage now. And honestly, Mom, you weren't doing anything with it. I need it more than you do." Her words hit harder than any slap. My own daughter dismissing my sacrifices, my future, as if it meant nothing. "You tricked me," I whispered, the betrayal burning in my chest. She sighed, rolling her eyes like I was being dramatic. "You'll thank me one day. I'm investing in my future. Don't make this harder than it has to be." I stared at her, searching for any trace of the little girl I had raised, the one who once held my hand crossing the street, who cried when she scraped her knee. But all I saw was cold calculation. I knew then this wasn't a mistake. This was deliberate. And if she thought I was just going to sit back and let her destroy everything I'd worked for, she was about to learn how wrong she was. The house felt colder after Anna left. as if her betrayal had sucked the warmth from the walls. I sat in the quiet kitchen, staring at the faint ring her coffee cup had left on the table. My chest ached, not just from anger but from heartbreak. This wasn't some thief in the night. This was my own blood. But I wasn't powerless. I pulled out the old shoebox where I kept important documents, birth certificates, insurance policies, the title to the house. My hands trembled as I flipped through them. My future was now tied to scraps of paper and memories, all that I had left to protect. I called the bank again, pressing for details, but they repeated the same line. "You signed authorization." Their tone was final, as if my word meant nothing against a stack of legal documents. That night, I barely slept. I replayed Anna's face in my mind, the way she had shrugged off my pain. Every time my eyelids grew heavy, the image of those empty accounts jolted me awake. By dawn, I knew what I had to do. If she could be cold, I could be colder. If she thought I was too naive to fight, she was about to learn who I really was. I made myself a promise as the first light of morning spilled across the kitchen floor. I would get my money back. And more than that, everyone would know what she had done. I started small. Anna had always been careless with her phone, leaving it on counters, forgetting it in the living room. That morning, while she showered upstairs, I picked it up. The lock screen lit up with a notification. Transfer confirmed, $48,000. My heart raced. She wasn't just hoarding my savings, she was moving it fast. I snapped a picture of the notification with my own phone, my hands shaking as I put hers back exactly where I'd found it. Later that afternoon, I called Laura, my oldest friend, the one who knew how to keep secrets. "I need your help," I whispered. When she arrived, I showed her the photo. She frowned. "That's a business account, not personal. She's funneling your money somewhere else. Can you trace it?" I asked. Laura hesitated. "Not legally, but I know someone who can." Hearing that made my stomach twist, but desperation drowned out my fear. That night, I sat by the window again, staring into the darkness. Anna came home late, her heels clicking across the hardwood, her voice cheerful as she called, "Night, Mom!" I didn't answer. My chest was heavy with rage, but my mind was sharper than ever. She thought she had won. She thought I was powerless, but I had the first thread, and I was ready to pull until the whole thing unraveled. Over the next week, I played my part. I smiled when Anna visited, nodded when she bragged about her new business ventures, and bit my tongue when she treated me like a foolish old woman. But I watched her closely. Her phone calls were shorter now, clipped and secretive. She slipped out of the room to take them, but her voice still carried, sharp, impatient. "The transfer will clear. Yes, she doesn't suspect a thing. Just trust me." Each word was another crack in her perfect smile. With Laura's help, I traced the account she'd used. The name on it wasn't hers. It belonged to some shell company, a ghost on paper. My money was being siphoned into shadows. I saved every screenshot, every detail, evidence. One evening, over dinner, I tested her. I set down my fork and asked casually, "Anna, do you think I should move what's left of my retirement into a safer account, just in case?" For the briefest second, her eyes widened, panic flashing across her face, before she smoothed it away with a smile. "No need, Mom, you're fine. I've got you covered." Her words dripped with confidence, but her hand trembled slightly as she lifted her glass. I noticed, and I knew she noticed me noticing. The game was shifting. I excused myself, retreating to my room where my journal waited. Every date, every lie, every crack in her armor, I wrote it all down. Because when the time came, I wouldn't just confront her. I would expose her. I knew I couldn't do this alone. If it came down to my word against Anna's, she'd twist it, and I'd be left looking like the bitter old mother accusing her own child. I needed someone else to see her true face. That's when I asked my son-in-law, Mark, to stop by. He'd always been polite around me, but quiet, reserved. He believed everything Anna said without question. Still, I had to try. When he arrived, I offered him coffee and kept my tone light. "Mark, I want to ask you something. Do you know anything about Anna's new business?" He frowned, puzzled. "She said she's freelancing. Consulting, something like that. Why? I leaned closer, lowering my voice. Because that money she's spending, it isn't hers. He shook his head immediately, almost defensive. No, that can't be right. So I pulled out my phone, the screenshots of the transfers, the photo of her notification, the journal of every conversation I'd overheard. His face changed with each detail, the color draining from his cheeks. This can't be real, he muttered. It's real, I whispered, and I need you to see it for yourself. Watch her. Listen carefully. She'll slip. That night, he stayed for dinner. Anna walked in, surprised but delighted. She kissed him, sat down, and started chattering about her clients. But her eyes flickered nervously when she saw us both listening too intently. For the first time, I saw Mark doubt her, and for the first time, she realized she wasn't fooling everyone anymore. It didn't take long. The very next evening, Mark came back to the house alone. His face was pale, his jaw tight. I heard her, he said, his voice low but trembling. She was on the phone, talking about moving the last of Mom's money before she catches on. She didn't even notice I was in the room. My chest tightened. Hearing it from him made the betrayal sting all over again. So now you know, I whispered. He nodded slowly, sinking into the chair across from me. I didn't want to believe it, but she's been lying to both of us. I reached for my journal and pushed it across the table toward him. Every detail is in there. Dates, times, conversations. We can take this to the bank, maybe even the police. His eyes flicked over the pages, his expression growing darker with every line. Finally, he closed the book and exhaled shakily. She won't get away with this. That night, I slept for the first time in weeks, not peacefully, but with a sharp, steady resolve. The noose was tightening around Anna, and she didn't even know it. The next morning she walked in with shopping bags, humming like a carefree teenager. But her smile froze when she saw Mark sitting beside me, his eyes hard, his jaw clenched. Anna, I said softly, almost sweetly, we need to talk. Her smile faltered. For the first time, I saw fear flicker in her eyes. Anna froze in the doorway, her shopping bags dangling from her arms. For once, her perfect smile didn't slide back into place. She looked between me and Mark, suspicion sharpening her features. What's this? She asked, her voice carefully measured. Mark leaned forward, his hands clasped on the table. We know, Anna. We know about the money. We know about the transfers. Her eyes narrowed. Transfers? What are you talking about? She set the bags down slowly, trying to mask her nerves with indifference. I opened my laptop, turning the screen toward her. Your notifications, your Shell accounts, every dollar you stole from me. The color drained from her face, but she tried to laugh it off. Mom, this is ridiculous. You've been listening to people who don't understand business. I moved your money into investments for you. For us. Investments? My voice cracked, louder than I intended. You emptied my accounts without my consent. You forged my signature. You lied to my face. Mark slammed his palm against the table, the sound making her flinch. Enough, Anna. I heard you myself. You were planning to move what's left before she caught on. Her mask slipped then, just for a moment. Her eyes hardened, cold and unrecognizable. Fine, she snapped. Yes, I took it. But do you really think you were ever going to use that money? You just let it sit there until you die. I actually need it. The words sliced through me. My throat burned. But I refused to let her see me break. That was my life's work, my security. And you stole it because you decided you deserved it more. For a moment, the room went silent, heavy with the weight of her confession. Mark stood abruptly. You're going to fix this, right now. You're going to transfer every cent back, or I swear I'll take this straight to the police. Anna's defiance flickered, replaced by panic. Mark, please. No, he cut her off. You've lied enough. You don't just get to walk away from this. I reached into the drawer and pulled out my journal, sliding it across the table toward her. Every detail is in here. Every word you've said. And Denise, Laura's attorney friend, already has copies. If you think you can bury this, you're wrong. Her breath quickened. She looked smaller now, cornered, stripped of the confidence she'd always worn like armor. You wouldn't. she whispered. I leaned forward, my voice steady and low. Try me. The fight drained out of her. Her shoulders sagged, her eyes glossy with unshed tears. I'll transfer it back, she muttered, barely audible. And she did. Right there at the table, her hands trembling as she typed, moving my savings back where it belonged. Every click of the keyboard was another layer of her lies crumbling. When it was done, Mark pushed the laptop away from her. Pack your things, Anna. You're not staying here. She looked at me then, her face a storm of anger and shame. You'll regret this, she hissed. But I didn't. Not for a second. As she stormed out, the house seemed to breathe again, the air lighter than it had been in weeks. My chest loosened, relief washing over me. I had my money back. But more than that, I had my power back. I turned to Mark, who still looked shaken but resolute. Thank you, I whispered. He nodded, his voice tight. She fooled me too, but not anymore. That night, as I sat by the window with a cup of tea, I thought of all the sacrifices I had made for Anna, the nights I had worked late, the dreams I had put aside. I thought of the little girl she had once been, and the woman she had chosen to become. It hurt. God, it hurt. But it didn't break me. I had survived her betrayal, and I knew now I would never let anyone steal my future again.